We don't want heavy industrial uses to be sited in these areas, but hopefully more layers of conservation will be put on in the future in the appropriate places. So now to zoom back up to the regional level, again, in New England, we're really just getting started this past year, and that has primarily focused on data collection and stakeholder engagement. So some of the data overlays, this is bottom trawling throughout the region, with overlaid on that deep sea coral. Obviously, there's some potential for conflict there, probably even more conflict for some of the potential offshore wind sites that are already in the leasing process. Again, more data layers for New England, whale sightings, shipping lanes. Obviously, we want to manage our shipping lanes to be able to reduce whale strikes. So just to quickly, since we were asked to talk a bit about climate change, in the National Ocean Policy that Dr. Luchenko described, it says we want resilient systems, especially resilient with respect to climate change. So if we look at the New England region, there's a number of things that actually we already are seeing. In Rhode Island waters, we've already seen an increase in water temperature. With that, a concomitant shift, a pretty dramatic species shift from a demersal winter flounder, highly commercially valuable species, to now a pelagic fish dominated by scup, less valuable. We are also, because of the warmer water, just on the southern end of New England, starting to see warm water invasive species. Another impact of climate change, sea level rise, again, already observed changes. Who knows what the projection is going to be. But when we're looking at managing things like valuable saltwater marshes, we have to understand what's going to happen with respect to erosion, saltwater inundation, etc. And many of these marshes have no place to retreat because there's coastal development upland. And then finally, as a climate variable, not finally that it's the only other one, the only other one I talk about is the increase in precipitation that we've already seen. And not only is it getting wetter in the Northeast, but the wet days are having heavier rainfall. So the wet days are getting wetter. And one of the things that we're seeing as a result of this was an example in 2005. We had very heavy rains in the spring, a huge harmful algal bloom throughout New England at a time immediately before the height of the torrent season. So it was really devastating for a lot of shell fishermen. But in conclusion, I do think that we can use coastal marine spatial planning as a tool to deal with climate change, protect our resources, deal with some of the new problems like invasive species, as well as help mitigate the impact of climate change by citing things like offshore wind development. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Very concise and very informative. Very helpful. Thank you. Okay, next I do want to invite our colleague Hashali Hamakumea from the Benguela Current Commission, who's come all the way from Namibia. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Good evening. Good evening. Yeah. I think the slides to be very quick. This area mentioned by Dr. Naoki that the three countries are about to sign the convention that is going to happen next month on 18th of March. And that binding instrument is a demonstration, strong commitment by the three countries to really have the conservation and sustainable use of the Dunga as a marine ecosystem. So we have started around 12 years ago with the development of CDA and SAP. And that was a very consultative process involving all stakeholders that are dealing with the ocean. And we believe the process that we've gone through of LME, SAP, and then the use of modular approach for implementation can also During that process, environmental issues that were identified were largely similar to other LMEs in Africa, both, for instance, declining